Sometimes the teachable moments is shut the up, let them work it out. My wife goes, "Why did he call you?" I said, "I don't know. He probably just needed an old guy to talk to. I don't know." I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed over 21 years of player development is sometimes less is more. You're a small piece of the puzzle in player development, but you're also a very big piece of the puzzle because you can be the final piece. What is best for the player? It's not what's best for me. It's not what drill I like. Once the season starts, every player is put in a box. This is what you need to do for our team. But the offseason is, hey, I want to expand that box. There's a whole standard like tough people are going to win. If you do what you always do, you're going to be who you always are. Your efforts and your habits have to be linked together. They're grown-ups playing a kid's game and highly paid for it. The most important dribble is your last dribble. I want to be the hardest working guy in the gym. Growth follows belief. Sometimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness, but at the same time, that can also be a negative if it's not generated into the right avenue. I'm here for one reason, and that's to help you get better. I learned two-ball handling 44 years ago, way before Steph Curry. The lady came out with her two basketballs, and I thought, oh, okay, that's cool. That creates muscle chaos, and that's always been my way to be able to connect with players. Actually, I don't know if it's the right answer, but it's my answer.
It is a right answer because it's coming from an OG. So
well, that's just being old.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life.
In this episode, we got a coach who's the definition of certified. He is the guy behind the guys. He trained legends like Paul Millsap, Derek Fisher, Darren Williams, but just as much, he poured the same energy into kids chasing their first break. You heard his motto, be better, be different. That's not a slogan, that's a lifestyle. He is part preacher, part teacher, and all heart when it comes to this game. This is Coach Aubrey Mccreary, a builder of players, a mentor, and one of the realest voices in basketball today. Hello Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great, Coach. How are you?
Good, thank you. And how is your camps and trainings going?
Well, I missed out on Dame's camp this year because I had a medical procedure. I've done it for the last 2 years, and then I wasn't able to do it this year because of my surgery. But and then spent some time. Brook Lopez flew out to Phoenix in June, and then I haven't been able to have to do too much because of my surgery. But moving in the right direction. Went to practice yesterday with the Mercury. I do some part-time stuff for them. Yeah, everything's going good.
That's amazing to hear. So you have a huge career and you are like one of the GOATs, and you built your career on the idea of be better, be different. It's not just words, it's a standard for you. Can you take us back to when you first lived that out for real?
Well, first of all, Be Better, Be Different was really originated probably 6 or 7 years ago with Phil Beckner and Dame Lillard. And I just really liked the motto and what they represent and what they do in regards to, there's a whole standard like tough people are going to win. What Dame's going through right now with Achilles, a great example of integrity and character and hard work and accountability and responsibility, and growth follows belief. He's constantly, I'm using him as a prime example right now, a lot like some of my other clients. He just really represents relentless effort, service before self, separates himself by just, showing up every day and doing the right things and treating people the right way, with approaching your workouts with joy and understanding you take care of the little things, big things take care of themselves. Fundamentals and being efficient with the time that you use. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed over 21 years of player development is really being efficient. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to go back to those early Reno days, the camps, the late night in the gyms. You said it wasn't the drills that were the toughest, it was the depth. So what kept you steady when belief wasn't always around you?
I think number one, in terms of what we do, or as a coach, like, we said before, you're a teacher, you're a preacher, you're a psychologist, you're a friend. Sometimes you have to have difficult conversations. Everybody wants real talk until it's what? Real, right? I mean, every player wants a coach who's going to communicate and be real with them until you're real and you tell them things that maybe they don't want to hear. I mean, I was a high school coach for 23 years before I decided to venture in to pursue my goal when I was 45 is like I wanted to get into the NBA. So I surrounded myself with a great mentorship group, spent many hours going to different places, and like anything, developing your craft and learning from the best. And also at the same time, there's a lot of duplication in things that we do. I think it's got to be, you got to find your niche. how you connect with players, what you do in regards to developing the trust and the belief that they need to know that you're there for one reason, and that purpose is to help them get better. You're a small piece of the puzzle in player development, but you're also a very big piece of the puzzle because you can be the final piece to help them find that extra thing that's going to help them improve their skill set and improve their mindset. And I'm a big believer in being positive, but at the same time, you got to be real and you got to be efficient in the things that you do.
Yeah, and as you said, truth hurts. These days, most of the players becoming coaches because the truth of their playing is not good, and they want to stay around basketball, and they become a coach. Actually, I'm so curious about how you started basketball and how you turned into a coaching business.
I was a very inefficient player. So when I did that, sometimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. My greatest strength is my passion and my enthusiasm. But at the same time, that can also be a negative if it's not generated into the right avenue, put it down the right path. No, I've been very fortunate to be surrounded, and I've reached out to people. Things have really changed from when I started. Now everybody's an NBA trainer. Honestly, working out an NBA guy is probably the easiest thing that you can do. Developing your skill set in terms of your craft is done when you're working with a 10 and 11-year-old and 12-year-olds and lower than that. I've been blessed where I've basically coached at every level, from high school to middle school to college to traveling to Italy or traveling to China, and communication stuff an issue. But it's like, your passion of the things that you do is what's really going to separate you, and to have the knowledge and the ability to connect with the players that you're working with. The bottom line, the most important thing, it's when I was even in the NBA, Tim Gergerich is one of the gurus of player development. He's in his 80s now. He was the one that initially, when I was 25, watching his practices down in Vegas, his biggest thing was connecting with the players. You connect by being on the floor with them, being able to do the drills, being able to show them, and at the same time engaging them and doing it with joy and having a passion and enjoying the process. Especially off-season stuff, you got to think outside the box, but you also got to be very specific in regards to what are 2 or 3 areas that we really want to focus on to develop your skill set that's going to help you continue to improve and have a long and lasting career, like a Paul Millsap. Darren Williams is probably the most skilled player that I've ever dealt with, and D. Fish was probably the most programmed, efficient guy in terms of what he did. Paul learned that over the years in regards to, you got to be in great shape to be able to play the game. And then you got to be able to find 2 or 3 things every summer that you want to try to get just a little bit better at. And that's what your job as a player development guy is, to be able to put the process together, that they trust you, that you know that your prime responsibility is to the player. And how do you do it, right? What are some things you do? How you do it? What's the why behind it? Good players are going to ask why they're doing certain things. No, I've been very blessed to be surrounded with, I coach with Eric Musselman and Nate Tibbetts, my guy out here with the Mercury. We were in Cleveland together, and then also I was in Orlando, my last job 2 years ago. Phil Beckner, Jamal Mosley. I've just been very fortunate to surround myself. Gannon Baker, years ago I did a camp with Gannon. That was probably 20 years ago. But we still cross paths when I love what he does and the enthusiasm that he brings. And Phil Handy, and we coach together in the G League. So you take things that they do and try to put it into context. What works for me, it's all about connecting with the player, and they got to have a trust and belief in what you're doing. And they got to know that I'm here for one reason, and that's to help you get better. Just at practice yesterday, I went to the Mercury practice, and it was interesting. They were getting ready for their WNBA game. Players were having dialogues in regards to how they want to cover or spacing on the floor. And it was just interesting to watch the head coach engage them and like, hey, let's have a discussion. What's a better way to cover this? And then circling back and letting them know that, hey, we got to be connected no matter what we're doing. All 5 of the players on the floor got to be connected. I think the discipline that those players have, the ones that we're talking about in off season who have long careers, they're very disciplined, they're very focused, process oriented. They understand what they need to do. They're willing learners. I have people asking, well, what can a 69-year-old man help somebody with who's a pro player? Well, you can find the little things, in terms of little adjustments. I'd never say change in shot mechanics. I just talk about little adjustments. If there is something that you need to improve, say shot mechanic wise, they got to be willing to have a discussion and embrace, okay, these are 1 or 2 little things that we're focused on and adjusting. And they got to feel it and they got to see it, right? It's interesting. Every player is a little bit different. Their menu is going to be a little bit different in regards to what you're trying to implement that day based upon how hard they worked that day. Have they, what's their cardio like? I call shot foundation. Some people don't believe in. I've always believed in shot foundation and working on base and balance and getting the body right, getting your mind right to get ready for the workout. And then, you're doing, it can be high sets or high volume, or it could be random shooting. It could be a mix of things. It's whatever menu is going to fit best for the player.
As you said, like all the OGs and all the GOATs have like some standards. I want to ask you, in the NBA floor, like college locker room, in the grassroots gym, what's the one principle you refuse to be banned on, no matter who you are working with?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you got to come in ready to work. But my job's not to motivate you. I do understand that's part of it. My motivation is I bring the energy. I'm going to bring more energy, whether I'm working at a 10-year-old or a pro. It's not going to be any different. And you have discussions with the players. Like, what are the things we want to accomplish? Say, today we want to get 40 sets of, say, 52, which means we're going to do 5 game speed shots from game shots, game spots, game speed from a variety of areas. Like D-fish, going to be a pull-up 3, corner drift, run to the corner. At the end of the day, we know that we're going to make 5 shots, 40 sets. That's 200 made shots, 80 free throws. So you can gauge what you're doing. And most of the players that we always track, and some days going to be all differential learning, small side action, different angles you're going to be getting the ball. Let's make 3, but it might be from a variety of different angles with a shadow defense, maybe not a shadow. You got to read and react, decision making. There's all kinds of other words I think they use now, CLA or whatever that's called. I just call it random shots. There's so many different ways to approach it. It really depends on every day, like what is best for the player. It's not what's best for me. It's not what drill I like, what makes me feel good. What is the best thing for the player? What areas do we really need to focus on and improve? Then at the same time, think outside the box. Like Paul Millsap, when he first got in the league, he was shooting 32% from the elbows at Utah. That's where he played. He was a great rebounder, a great defender, but he needed some adjustments in his shot mechanics. And I've been fortunate enough, I was with him for over 13 years. And every summer it'd be like, hey, I want to be trained as a guard. I don't want to be trained. I don't need to work on a lot of post stuff. And every year he just kept expanding his range. Example, he went to Atlanta. All of a sudden he's shooting threes. The GM asked him, like, well, Paul, we never knew you could do that. He goes, well, no one's ever asked me to. Then he's a 4-time All-Star. I mean, the skill sets are the skill sets, and then you want to constantly carve out, you want to make your box a little bit bigger every year in the right area. Once the season starts, every player is put in a box. This is what you need to do for our team, which I totally understand. But the offseason is, hey, I want to expand that box just a little bit to be able to enhance your career, enhance your skill set, and it's only going to help you down the road in terms of securing another contract. If you become more improved in different areas and you're showing growth and development, it's like the old saying, growth follows belief. You're going to grow, believe in the things that you're doing. And if you're seeing that progress being made as an athlete, gives you confidence. You feel good about yourself. You carry yourself different. You're all those things.
Somewhere you said training is about the heart as much as the handle.
Yes.
I actually want to ask you 2 questions in one. So first of all, how do you spot the heart in the player? And when they have the heart, most of the time, they're a little bit ambitious. As we said in the beginning, the truth hurts. Probably most of the players say, I want to be in the NBA. I want to be in the All-Star. Right. If you say them the truth, look, and being NBA players is hard because of this, they could get hurt. How do you spot the heart in a player, and how do you deliver the truth in a way to motivate them? I
think I try to deliver the truth just by the way I bring the passion and the enthusiasm into the work, especially with the pro development. I've always worked with really, really high-end, high character. They take their craft very serious. They're very accountable. They're very responsible. And every player is different. Some players are very quiet. Some players have a little bit more energy and enthusiasm. But as long as they come in focused to the detail of things that we want to try to do and with the right heart and with the right passion, you have to have conversations, especially at the camp. Say like Dame's camp, we had 30 of the top college and high school players at Tunde, Darren Peterson. And you watch players. You watch how they interject with other players. You watch how they respond to coaches. Are they looking coaches in the eye when they're starting to talk? I mean, that's my biggest thing. I don't care if we're having a discussion. I need your eyes, right? You either hear or you listen. Hear, if I hear, it just goes in. Listen, it hits the apartment house, right? These are all vacant buildings, especially camp stuff, because they come in and they think they're better than they are. They come in with an attitude. Some players they have their posse or their group, right? Surrounded by a lot of people telling them all things they want to hear. You might have to have that conversation with them about, hey, these are things that I see that you need to get better at. And these are going to be your guardrails that keep you on track, or these are going to be the obstacles that you have to overcome. And you have to be willing to overcome the obstacles and the barriers to create those opportunities And you only do that by creating change. And you only create change by doing things different. If you do what you always do, you're going to be who you always are. I can keep saying, I want to change this, I want to change. Well, if I keep doing the same actions all the time, there's not going to be no change. Your efforts and your habits have to be linked together. Hopefully, the majority of guys, again, I've been very blessed, and I work for Wasserman Associates. So Wasserman is Brook Lopez's agent. I've known Brook Lopez since high school. So this last year, I flew out to Milwaukee probably 5 different times and spent 5 or 6 days just doing what we call shot foundation, or 45 minutes of work to get him. I call them tune-ups. I fly in, you know what you're going to get. We're going to go 30 to 45 minutes an hour, depending upon his schedule. But these are the areas that we really need focus on for you to continue to improve, continue your career. He just signed another 2-year deal for the Clippers. He's going to be on year 18 and 19. And those players who have the consciousness and the drive to put themselves in a situation to constantly be willing to learn, whether it's a 69-year-old man telling them or 45-year-old coach, it's like those are the ones that always intrigue me, because their ability to focus, their ability to have the discipline, their ability to be a willing learner, even as, you're 14, 15 years in the league, and not take it for granted. They show up on time. I remember I flew out to Vegas probably 7 years ago. My agent says, let's do an evaluation on this guy. I said, all right, I'll fly to Vegas. I'll do the evaluation. So I get there. The workout's supposed to be at 9:30. I always get there 45 minutes early. I get my shoes on. I stretch. I, get my mind right. I look at my pad. Okay, he wants me to do like a NBA workout to see if this guy is actually prepared to do it. Well, day one, he shows up 20 minutes late. That's not good. And then, the next day, we talk, we get through the workout. I just reemphasize, hey, we need to make sure you're on time. Next day, he shows up a half hour late. So when I'm writing my report up, those are all red flags. Those are all barriers and obstacles that need to be addressed. If you can't show up for a workout when you're getting evaluated by someone from the NBA to say whether you're ready or not, that was a huge red flag. Well, the guy ended up getting drafted, and he played about 2 years in the league, and now he's probably working at Costco.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I first see you in the Damian Lillard's camp because of the social media, and I go through your other stuff on the social media and all the YouTube and Instagram. You said that Instagram changed the training game in a bad way and in a good way, because players has a lot of sounds right now because of social media. Some of them is true, some of them is like wrong. Right. I don't want to say wrong, but they are different. I want to ask you that if every young trainer could follow just one rule you believe in, what would it be? Be
efficient. You have to know the player you're working with. And you can do all spicy stuff. There's another example of a pro guy who, my buddy was a shooting coach for a team. And the guy came in from college, and he was All-American and this and that. And he got drafted. But every summer he would go back to where he worked out and work on all the things that he didn't need to do. I think there's a level of creativity and getting your mindfulness and mind chaos going in terms of ball handling drills and getting outside the box and have multiple dribbles to go get into your shot. But that might be 10% of the workout, not 90% of the workout. So if you don't work on the things that you really need to be specific on, you're putting yourself in a situation to not be successful. Instagram and all that's been amazing to me, how it's great because there's so much information, right? You can pull up NBA sets. That's all great, but and mind you, I've stolen everything that I've ever gotten from other coaches. I learned two ball handling from Wendy Martell at Fresno State when I was 25 years old, way before Steph Curry. This was a gal who was All-American at Fresno. So that was 44 years ago. Old gym in Fresno, this lady came out with her 2 basketballs, and I thought, oh, okay, that's cool. That creates muscle chaos. And that's always been my way to be able to connect with players, because if you see old white guy doing it, I make it look really easy. And then you put them in a situation and it's fun. I mean, the bottom line is, like, especially off season, you still got to be joyful. I think Steve Kerr probably has done one of the best jobs in regards to bringing joy to NBA practice. You got to remember, they're grown-ups playing a kid's game and highly paid for it. And if you want to stay highly paid, you continue to improve your skill set, continue to improve your character, continue to improve your accountability. And instead of having an 8-year career, you have a 15-year career, which I'm not real smart, but I think that equates to millions of dollars that will help their family. So I just know who I am. And one of the reasons I've developed is I have a lot of doubt. Like, anytime I go into a place, it's like, hey, I want to show them, like, hey, you're on stage. I want to prove I'm good enough. And so I've never approached any workout or any camp where I'm always nervous. I'm always like, hey, how can I do it better? How can I connect better? What do I need to do? Prove to them that I'm worthy for them to be able to take the time out for a workout. So when I go to a camp or whatever, I want to be the hardest working guy in the gym. And if I'm the hardest working guy in the gym and bringing enthusiasm and passion, then I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And then, but you also got to be efficient with the work. One thing, like from Kobe goes, the most important dribble is your last dribble. I mean, that's the one that's going to get you into your shot. That's the one to create your yard of space, that Steve Nash talks about. That's going to be the one that gives you the power into your shot. That we had people come in and Dame was working out one day and people were like, there's no magical workout. You know what I mean? It's all very detailed. It might be random shooting. It might be going against a ghost defender. It might be going against no defender. You adapt and move and try to find, and then you change workouts. If things aren't going well, or you can see a high level of frustration, is that the time to continue doing what you're doing, or let's segue into something else and then segue back? You got to find the teachable moments in everything that you do. And sometimes the teachable moments is shut the fuck up. Let them work it out. I mean, you might came in the morning and I can tell hey, you're not right. Maybe you have family problems. Something's happening or you're just not into it. And I always try to emphasize hey, this hour and 15 minutes are your time. And let's try to, close off everything from the outside. Let's really just focus, leave your mark on the floor. As soon as you step on the floor, you forget about everything outside the floor. And I think that's really important to do. And sometimes it takes you putting your arm around it. Sometimes it's what's going on? Let's talk about it. You got to be an impactor and you got to also learn to be a separator. What separates the good from the bad and good from the great? Actually, I don't know if it's the right answer, but it's my answer.
Well, it is a right answer because it's coming from an OG. So,
well, that's just being old.
As you said, you've been training with the NBA players, NBA teams for a long time, and you still doing that. So, what do you think about? They call it new basketball, like new generation basketball. Like Charles Barkley says, now it's more long passes than what they had before. What do you think about the new style of basketball comparing to the more old, more 20s, 90s basketball?
Obviously, things have really changed with the analytics has had a huge impact on the thinking, which I think is good. But at the same time, analytics is extremely valuable. But like any information, it's only valuable if it can be interpreted and applied. Right. I'm still a believer in 3-level scoring, get to the rim, be able to get to the mid-range. Obviously, the 3-point. I mean, I think Steph Curry and ball movement and those things really have impacted the change over the last 10 years in regards to more focus on threes. I mean, all players are different, but I still think if you can get to a mid-range shot, 15-foot kill zone, to me, you have to have some supreme confidence in that should be I do understand the value of getting to the rim and obviously the 3-point shot, but at the same time, it's like anything. Poor shots lead to runouts or bad defense leads to if you get taking bad shots and you turn the ball over because you're forcing shots or forcing threes that aren't there or forcing rim attacks that aren't there. And that's going to also lead into a bad offensive possession and puts the defense in a position tough to defend. I think that the change a lot in basketball is obviously the impact of the high volume of games that are being played, the AAU circuit, which I think is great to play games. I'm not against that at all. But at the same time, by having more games, we're getting less and less skill development of efficiency. That's why I think European basketball has progressed so much because of the fact that they spend so much time fundamentally developing the fundamentals and understanding that there's a paramount value on developing great skill sets, not just playing the game.
Thank you so much for all of the answers that you gave, and thank you so much for joining me for this podcast.
Oh, sure. I appreciate it. My wife goes, well, why did he call you? I said, I don't know. He probably just needed an old guy to talk to. I don't know.
So as I said, I first saw you from the Damian Lillard's camp. I saw the video of you were doing with a lot of passion and a lot of quickness, and I was like, oh yeah, and it was like a really fast Google search. And I'm not a basketball coach, I'm just a basketball lover, and I played basketball. I do this podcast for the coaches and players because when I was playing, there were nothing exists like this, so I wasn't be able to get this information for free from YouTube or someone else. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to do something like this. When I see your profile, I was like, yeah, I need to reach out to him somehow, and it was actually easier than I thought. I just DM'd you and then you DM'd me back.
Well, I appreciate it. So
thank you so much for everything. And
you're welcome. Keep impacting the game.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, the ball has magic.